Call this meeting to order. This is a regular meeting of the Northfield Public School Board. Today is Monday, January 26, 2026, and the time is 6 p.m. This meeting is live streamed and recorded. The recording of this meeting will be posted on the district website as soon as possible. Before we get started, I'd like to thank members of the public for attending the school board business meeting to observe the work being done on behalf of all school district stakeholders. We appreciate the time you're taking to be here or for joining us online this evening. Dr. Hillman, we have some items in the table file.
Yes, we have a few items in the table file this evening. There are a few appointments, and there are a couple of decreases, and changes of assignment. I also want to point out there's an updated stadium naming rights contract. This updated contract simply revises Section 4, as the board had requested last meeting, to update the references to our policies and some additional hold harmless and indemnification language. So that language that was requested by the board is included in the updated contract that's in the table file.
Thank you, Dr. Hillman. If there are no objections, we'll add these items to the agenda as we move forward. Note for tonight's meeting, board member Ben Miller is joining us virtually, so each vote will be done by roll call. For discussion items, I will address Ben first, and then we'll go to the dais after that. Is there a motion to approve the agenda as presented? Jeff first. Do we have a second?
Second.
Maggie. All right, Kelly.
Epstein,
Aye.
Gorwitz,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Quinnell,
Aye.
Butler.
Aye. And we have no public comment tonight, is that correct? Kelly? Okay. All right, we'll move on to announcements and recognitions. Dr. Hillman.
Yes, I have two announcements this evening. The Gator Raider boys swim and dive team placed third at the Class A True Team State Meet this past Saturday. This was the team's fifth consecutive trip to the True Team State Meet. Really a great event. Want to congratulate our boys swim and dive team on just the continued excellence that they show in the pool and on the diving board. We also want to congratulate the Northfield High School Business Professionals of America, or commonly called BPA. They competed at the Region 2 competition on January 8th, and we have 16 BPA students advancing to the state competition, which will be held March 5th through 7th. Want to congratulate Northfield High School BPA, again, just really doing some great work and consistently sending a number of students to the state competition. Those are the announcements that I have this evening.
Thank you, Dr. Hillman. We'll go to the board. If anyone has anything to say, we'll start with Ben.
All right. Thank you, Corey, and good to be with you. I apologize I'm not there in person this evening. I just wanted to recognize, and I'll be brief, but this was obviously a very difficult weekend in the state of Minnesota, and I had the chance to attend several community events in Northfield over the course of the weekend and have conversations with community members. And I just wanted to recognize everything that our neighbors are doing to support the district and the students and the children of the district. Obviously, this has been a difficult time for certain members of our community, and it makes me thankful that I live in a state like Minnesota and a community like Northfield, where people come together to support each other and peacefully exercise their constitutional rights. It's one of the reasons why I wanted to serve on the board, is because it feels like a good demonstration of how government is supposed to work, the good work that we do in support of the children of the district, the students of the district, and the staff of the district. And I just wanted to make that comment this evening. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Ben. Anyone else have any comments? All right, we'll move to items for discussion reports. Just zooming through so far. We're going to move on to item A, Reimagine Northfield High School update. Sal Bagley from Wold Architects and Engineers will provide an update to the board and share progress on the project. Welcome, Sal.
And
And-
Josh Cooper here.
And Josh
too.
Cooper as well. Thank
Yep, Josh from Knutson Construction. Then my colleague Alex Mon is in the audience, so in case I have questions, might call on them. Thank you for having us. We've come to another exciting milestone for the Reimagine High School project. So this is the CD board update, that is construction documents. So what we're going to do today is we will go through the design meetings that we've had, just a little bit about process. I'll recap the plans and kind of remind you of some of the design updates. And then kind of the biggest piece of new information for you all is the project phasing. We've been working very closely with Knutson for I don't know, months at this point, of trying to make sure that the project can be delivered successfully and safely and still have an operating school. And so we're excited to give you that update. Going all the way back to right after the referendum passed, the district put together a core planning group, which is a group of key stakeholders. There was staff, teachers, administration, students, parents, community members. And they met, it was really 8 times, and then we got them back together a 9th time after the summer to give them an update. And they really set the vision for the project, right? They worked heavily with criteria, went on tours of other facilities, talked about what's important to have a successful high school. And they had a spin-off group, the Activities and Athletics Subcommittee, and they met 4 times as well and made recommendations up to the core planning group. So all of that is what we would call schematic design. So the schematic design phase really went through about May of last year. We did an update to you all around that time on May 12th. And then over the summer, we went into design development. We had the lion's share of our user group meetings during that time and into the fall, so that's with staff. I'll get to that on the next slide. And we gave you all an update on September 22nd. This is the list of all of the user groups that we met with during the design development process, and a few of them recently again. So what we did for each of these meetings is kind of a dedicated hour to an hour and a half for any one of these groups to talk through all of the important functions of their spaces. I don't think there's a group on this list that had any less than 2 meetings, and there's been some complicated spaces that had 5 or 6 meetings. We've even had some follow-up meetings in the last couple of weeks. And so it's been a huge commitment of time by your staff, and we're very thankful for that. We really hope that they have kind of a no surprises mentality when they get to move into their spaces. So design development went through October, I think, of last year. And we've been in construction documents really ever since. And so that's kind of turning away from, the aesthetics of the project and doing renderings like that, and really creating technical documents that contractors can bid off of and build off of. And again, working very closely with Knutson on how the project will be built. So we'll kind of end the presentation on that. I will do a little reminder of the design of the project. So here is the site plan. North is up in this drawing. And then just, again, a couple other things to orient you. The existing parts of the building that are proposed to remain and be renovated are in that diagonal crosshatch. And new parts of the building to be added are in the white shape. So you can see main entry there is directly kind of just due east of the existing main entry. Actually, if I gesture, can you see? Yeah. So existing main entry is here, just for some context. Existing main office is this volume here. So we will have the new main office and classroom addition on the east side of the building, built right here. Then in the southwest corner of the site is where the music addition and our activities and athletics expansions will be, which is this white shape here. And then we have a small addition up by the V-wing to get the culinary arts department up by a lot of our other hands-on spaces. Underneath where you have existing buildings today, we will be modifying the site for better flow and function. We've been working closely with the city of Northfield on traffic impacts and utility impacts. We actually have a set of drawings into them as we speak for their review. So, the Department of Public Works looks at it, Department of Community Development, and we've had, 5 or 6 meetings throughout the design of the project to talk about various topics with them. So I will say this has not gotten through that process yet, but we've been working very closely with them. So coming off of Division, there will be a long amount of queuing space available for pickup and drop-off, including 2 lanes for much of that so that you can serve more people, getting you to the main entry and then kind of coming back the way they came on Division. One of the main tenets of the site design is to try to separate different kinds of traffic flow. So that would be cars away from buses, as well as pedestrians and bicyclists away from vehicles. And so you can see a network of paths on the lighter gray color, in addition to the pavement, which is in the darker gray color. As I've said, trying to separate vehicle traffic, so on the west side of the site, we'll be really encouraged for some staff parking. That will be access to your loading dock, which is this shape right here. But then the new feature to the site that you don't have today is a bus loop. So that's a dedicated places for buses to pick up and drop off students. The bulb at the end is all about being able to turn around without having to back a bus up, and then they can leave the way they came. There is kind of a cross-campus road here to let you navigate between parking lots, serve for events and things of that nature, and then it also serves for emergency vehicle access as well. We will be expanding the parking lot that's in front of your stadium to the east some, And then in the space between that and your field here is where the geothermal well field will be. So all of our well field will be in that hatched area here. Moving back to the north part of the site, we will be reconstructing 5 of the 7 tennis courts kind of in place. So newly constructed, but in the same footprint they're in today. And then we will have new tennis courts built directly to the west of that. Maybe a couple other points I would make on this would be that we are connecting to several other trail systems. So you can see some like paths kind of going off the pages. We've been encouraged to make sure that all modes of transit are being supported by the site plan. Floor plan, it's a big building to show on one slide, so I can talk in more detail about anything if anyone's interested. There have been no major changes really since you've seen the floor plans at design development. We had a couple small, I would say like cost-saving ideas that came up through the design development process. One of them was just rearranging all of our art spaces, so kind of flipping it from what we had it shown saved quite a bit of money, so we met with that group and they accepted that. And then we did end up pursuing a different option for the athletic director office location. But I would say on the whole, those were most of the main changes. So if you come in the main entry here, the main office is directly to the east of that, with student services right above it. Then we've got our classroom wings. So there's one that goes kind of directly due east and one that goes to the southeast. The intent is for those to be departmentally organized with student support services distributed throughout. So those are in the purple color, whereas the classrooms and labs would be in the green colors. On the first floor, you can see in the southeast wing would be the science department. Those are specially designed spaces, of course. Then in the northern leg, we have our special education DCD department. We've got our world language department and one of our multilingual classrooms. The S here that's got kind of that same goldenrod color would be a staff prep and meeting space, and that's true on all 3 levels, kind of between the 2 wings. Then on the second floor in that addition, we've got the math department and the social studies department, again with some special education and support services distributed throughout. And last but not least, on the 3rd floor, we've got language arts, some of the business and facts department, and then again more presence of special education. We also have some mechanical space on that level. If I go to the north, the existing main office will be converted for a few different uses. They'll have great frontage onto this new commons that's in the blue. So we've got Torch, mental health, and the technology department. The media center will be just right to the kind of west of that. Very, very close to the location it is today. Actually, most of it is staying in the shape it is today. We are cutting a path through it to allow the commons to extend nicely to the viewing. And they are able to take over the hallways around the media center since those won't be needed to go anywhere anymore. In the center of the floor plan here, you can see things labeled like storage. We have the staff lounge in that space, the receiving area, and then the kitchen and area where students are served food are being heavily modified to better serve students. Then in the V-Wing, I already mentioned we'll have a small addition to add the culinary lab next to a culinary classroom. We've got our tech ed department all being renovated out here. And then we have renovations in our existing art spaces and then some creation of new art spaces in actually a little bit into what's currently known as the M-Wing. The bus loop entry will be on the north side as well. So I showed you on the site plan how that's where buses will pick up and drop off. So there'll be a dedicated entrance for those students so they don't have to walk all the way around. Now coming on to kind of the south and west parts of the plan, lots of modifications happening in the existing athletics and locker room spaces, heavy renovation in the weight room, game gym, and then we've got the auditorium with several updates in it, mostly to its systems. The existing building ends about right here today, so that's what you think of as your activities entrance, and that's where the addition will start. There's this activities lobby that will happen between the new expanded gym and your existing game gym. There's circulation space up to the bridge that will connect the two. So on this level, you can see there's a bridge between the new walking track level and your existing game gym bleacher level. Accessed off of that bridge, we have a community classroom. We've got our 2 health classrooms and Raider Hall, which is kind of like a lecture hall or black box. Last but not least, we have our music department I mentioned, so they will also be on the first floor. They're going to enjoy being on the same level as the auditorium. That was one of their main requests. So they've got 3 large rehearsal spaces as well as offices and storage and practice rooms. I'll go through these renderings pretty quick. Again, you've seen most of these before, and we've made some minor updates as the site plan has come into view and a few coordination items with our engineers. So here's an overview of the main entry. So we are kind of a bird in the sky looking back towards the building. Just again, for some context, this is the existing main office volume. This is the existing game gym volume. So kind of starting about right here would be the addition. Here would be that eastern leg of the classroom and office addition, and here's that southeastern leg, main entrance right here. You can see that pickup and drop-off lane happening right here, and then we will have bike parking for students and staff right here, about half of which will have cover on it. Now if we kind of come around towards the south, looking at that same addition, so now this is the eastern leg and this is the southeastern leg. You can see the science addition on the first floor, where we've got 2 other departments above it, and you're starting to see a little bit into that outdoor dining space. Keep going around the building. Here is the activities entrance. So here's your existing building, and the existing auditorium is kind of in the mid-ground here, background. So here's that new activities entry. Here's the shape of the new expanded gymnasium. Again, more bike parking handled here, and then here's that kind of cross-campus road I mentioned. Parking kind of just off view. And now we have a few views that are a little bit more like down on the ground. So here's a view of if we just got dropped off to come to school. You can see very clear, identifiable signage. That was one of the goals of the core planning group, is to have a very obvious and prominent entrance. Opportunity for branding, name of the school, lots of natural daylight coming into the space, and what that might look like in the evening, or more like at dusk. Again, now coming around towards the other side, in this we are seeing the science with 2 classroom wings, or classroom departments above it here. And the outdoor dining space. So on the plan, I should have said this a couple slides ago, but you can always see where these renderings are shown by the little star on the plan. So this is the space kind of between the existing building and the new classroom office addition. So there'd be a nice outdoor dining plaza there. Here we've come around to the north side of the building. So this will be the entry that students who arrive by bus will use. So the main media center volume is right here. And then here will be that addition we're doing for the FACS Culinary Lab. So it'll be a new major entrance here. And then here's that activities entrance. So you're seeing one of the staircases for the expanded gym here. Again, that same opportunity for branding and signage. Lots of, in this case, southern natural daylight coming into the space. And a view of what that would look like. Obviously lots of evenings and weekend events for this space. Now coming around to the west side of the site, this would be the music addition. This addition will also serve as the storm shelter for the whole building. So in the event of a tornado, it's been sized and designed that you could withstand an F4 tornado. Now hopping into the interiors, again, I won't show every single space, but I'll kind of give everyone a little reminder of what the interiors will look like. So here we are, having just stepped inside the main entrance. We're kind of looking across. These would be the doors that would take you to that outdoor dining space. You can see the 2 staircases that would serve the, 2 of the 4 staircases that would serve the classroom and office wing right here. Furniture has not been discussed yet. That'll be a whole other separate process that starts probably this coming fall. But we have shown furniture for scale in all these renderings. Another view of that same space. Now we've kind of walked further into the space and we're looking back where we were just standing. So here is the doors that are considered the main entry doors. You can kind of see the existing main office through them. And then these would take you back into the existing building. Now we've kind of come down and gone to the north. So we've just walked past the existing main office. We are walking past Raider Closet, and you can see the media center in the distance as well as the technology department. Continuing on that same path, the media center is directly to our right here. We're opening up and adding glazing to let daylight penetrate further into the building. And since this is near the bus loop, wanted to have some lockers available for students because that would be highly convenient. Now we are inside the media center, just showing how the space will be modified, taking over those surrounding hallways and providing some subdivision so that large meetings can happen, testing, what have you, while access to the book collection doesn't have to be restricted during those times. Now coming into just an example of what one of the levels will look like for the classroom wing. So we have two different views of that. So this is as if we've just walked into one of them, happens to be the southeast wing. You can see the classrooms around the perimeter. There's a couple of conference rooms, both enclosed and just kind of defined by material space. We've got some acoustic treatments and protection on the walls. And another view of that same space. Now we've come into the music department. So this is after we've just walked through. You'll get to this by a hallway that'll be on the south side of the auditorium. Kind of turn and take a left, and this would be your view. So this is kind of their main commons. There's a set of bathrooms for students. Lots of the instrument storage will be here. And then you can see kind of entrances into all the main rehearsal spaces with the color. I mentioned Raider Hall. It's also been called the Opportunity Space over time. But again, it's really meant to be a flexible space with retractable theatrical seats and a flat floor, everything from speakers to certain types of physical activities, team teaching. Maybe you bring 3 classes together, things of that nature. Great community asset. Coming into the athletic wing now. So this is as if we've just walked through the athletic entrance or activities entrance. The doors to the expanded gym are in the background here. We've got visibility into that space. And here's that bridge I was talking about that brings you from the walking track over to the existing game gym bleacher side. Another view of that same space, just looking in the other direction. Obviously lots of opportunity and emphasis on branding in a space like this. This is the hallway that will exist between the existing building and the new expanded gym. So we've got the doors here, opportunities for branding, trophies, displays on our way up and down, as well as an acoustic panel pattern. Now we've moved into the expanded gym itself. So we are in the space that has 3 of the courts in it. So you can see they're numbered courts 2, 3, and 4. Each one of those courts will have 6 basketball hoops. There are divider curtains between them. Accommodations for batting cages. We spent a lot of time with users talking about all the sports or activities that should be striped on the floor. And you can see the walking track going around the upper part of this space. Here's a view from being on that walking track, kind of looking down into it. And then next one is kind of like we took the roof off and we're looking down into it just to help you understand the geometry. So there will be 3 courts in one volume with a walking track around those 3. And then the 4th court will be in its own volume for allowing daytime community use. And the walking track actually extends to a 4th court for that. So you could kind of do the 3-court shorter loop or a 4-court longer loop. Couple views of the weight room. So this is actually mostly just changes in finishes. We are taking down the dividing wall and flattening out the floor. There was an old pool viewing area in there, so that will be now on the same level as the rest of the space. Another view of that. And I think this is my last interior view. So now here we are inside the game gym. There's lots of improvements happening in this space. Is mostly to the systems, original HVAC and electrical. So lots of changes we need to make. Taking that opportunity to update aesthetics to match the rest of the spaces that we're adding. And with that, I think we're going to move into phasing, but I'd be happy to take any design questions or maybe process questions.
Board members, do you have any questions? We'll start with Ben.
Thanks, Corey. I don't right now.
All right, thanks, Ben. Other board members, any design questions, Maggie?
Can you just talk a little bit about some of the accessibility things that might be changing, or we're adding more stories for the academic wing? How will those students
Sure.
be served?
Yeah, if you don't mind, I might just click back to a floor plan. We've joked throughout the design process and with the core planning group, for being a mostly one-story building, you have a lot of levels. So there was a lot to reconcile. So what I can say is everything will be fully accessible and much improved over today. The solution's a little bit different depending on where we are. So there will be an elevator in the new main office and classroom wing addition. We will maintain the existing elevator that serves the kind of game gym and music, as well as a new elevator that will be onto the kind of the bridge level right when you walk in the activities entrance. So there will be those 3 elevators. And then there's a series of places where we need to have ramping just to allow access. So the new expanded gym and the gym lobby will be built at the same level as the game gym court floor. And that's about a half a level down from the commons, right? And so as we work our way up to the lower commons, it's called lower because it's a little bit lower, and then up to the main commons, there will be some ramps and things of that nature. And then, as you all know, there's a ramp down into the V wing because most of that was built at a little bit lower level. On the whole, there are not really any level changes in the existing like main office or media center area. Other things for accessibility will be that we will have to improve all of the restroom areas. So all of the restrooms will be ADA compliant in the whole building. And then we'll be doing any replacement of doors and things like that that are not. So that'll be a big focus of the project.
Good questions, Maggie. Jeff, question?
Yeah, thanks for your report.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering on, let's say for events or for a banquet or let's say a large wrestling tournament or anything like that, how do you see people, where would be your focal point or how would that work for even renting out the space for the cafeteria and, eating and that kind of thing for different events over time?
Yeah, I see many high schools with a commons like this choose to use it as a major gathering space, whether that's for banquets or dances or large meetings, things like that. So there will be provisions for presentations into that space. I think depending on the scale of the activity, you might choose to use the main entrance or activity entrance or both, right? If you're having 600 people come to an event, you'll likely want to use the parking available in both locations. But I think the core planning group worked really hard to have that commons connect to everything. So whether it was a performing arts event or an athletic event or some sort of evening academic event, I think it'll be kind of close to wherever people are coming in the building. I'm trying to think of a good way to talk about capacity of the space. I mean, hundreds of people could comfortably sit in the space. We've had to design around the district's current flex schedule for lunch, right? Which is all students have the ability to go and dine at once. So it is quite a voluminous space. It'll be a lot larger than what you're used to today.
Yeah, and
And
Jeff,
Dr.
I'd
Hillman has
also
something to
just like
add.
weigh in that
Yeah.
I think one of the things that's going to be exciting about this building is the updates is we are going to have a number of other places that you are able to do that kind of thing, from smaller gathering spots like the community room to the opportunity space, right? The Raider
Raider
Hall,
Hall.
if you were to retract all of the seating, you could certainly set up tables, and that would be a fairly large space for kind of a mid-sized gathering. The cafeterias, et cetera. So we're just going to have so many more options than we ever did before. And I can see where we could probably only hold a couple of those kinds of events, depending on the size. You could have a few of those going on at the same time, which is really an exciting piece. Opens it up to the community much more.
Yep. And of course the auditorium, right? So, yeah.
Amy, do you have any questions?
Thank you for your
Yes.
presentation. I have several questions. The first are kind of related. I see that we now have 8 tennis courts and not 7, so I'm wondering if that's set and if that's worked out. And then sort of related to that, you put in a pond where we don't currently have a pond, so I just want to
Sure.
understand that as well.
Yeah, let me go back to the site plan maybe to discuss both of those questions. So as we develop the site, we are required to meet all of the kind of the authority that has jurisdictions requirements for stormwater control, which the site does not currently do today. So we're doing that as a part of this project, and that will be a combination of both underground stormwater management systems as well as a surface system. So the pond is a surface stormwater management system. All about slowing down the amount of water that hits impervious surface, so things like roofs and parking lots, so that it doesn't immediately hit the city's storm system. So we're required to slow down the rate at which it leaves the site. So we'll have a combination of both and a kind of a surface ground pond as well as some underground storm tanks. And then we are currently going through, so we've met quite a bit on the 8th tennis court. We have applications in right now for 2 different grants. We've got some promising leads on how we might be able to fund that. So we've been showing it, we've been master planning for it, we applied to the city for our permitting with it, and we actually just got some comments back on one of the grants like last week. So feeling promising about it. And Josh is going to get into it, but of course we all want to have a good bid day too, right? So.
I have more. You pointed out the lockers by the bus entry.
Yes.
And I remember when we were having the committee meetings, we had talked about having some over by the activities area as well. Are there two different locker spaces, or are they all going to be by the bus entry at
Alex,
this
how
point?
would you characterize the distribution of lockers? We've worked closely with the administration on this, and it has changed a little bit over time.
Yeah, they're fairly distributed centrally in the building. So if you draw a diagonal from the bus entry to the entrances into the academic wings, that's where the
It's like most of them.
yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. Almost all of them would be in kind of that somewhere in that main drag. Yeah.
And are some of them day lockers then, or are they all going to be assigned lockers?
Right now, the district could choose how to operate that. So whether you choose to assign students, which I don't think would be your practice because it hasn't been. So if it'll just be up to the administration if they do a annual kind of checkout or if they'll allow some sort of shorter time period. Yeah.
And then I'm also wondering if you could give us a geothermal update and also
Sure.
and talk in general about energy efficiencies in the new design.
Sure. So I'll start with geothermal just since I'm on this site plan. So as all of you probably know, we did have the third question that community-supported geothermal. A test well was done, a test drilled well was done. It was summer of last year, and then it took some time to get the geology report back, but that helped us size the system. So what's currently in the bid documents is what's called a Darcy system. It's kind of a hyper efficient, especially for larger buildings such as yours. So we will have 10 Darcy wells. That's as opposed to if we had done a traditional system, would have been more than 14 or 1,500 wells. So it'll be a very efficient system, kind of coming right inside the building here. This right here, if you can see the gray that I'm highlighting, it's room PE01. If anyone's familiar right now, it's kind of a strange locker room off of the old pool. So that will actually become the geothermal pump room. So that's where all the pumps for this space will be. And then the room with the E right next to it, that will be the electrical needs required to serve that geothermal. So it's most efficient to have that as close to the wells as possible. And our geology report told us that the further southeast we were, the better in that regard. The closer to the north part of the site was much less efficient. So that's kind of the current geothermal update. Then if we talk about just other energy efficiency systems, we did volunteer to be a part of the Excel Energy Enhanced Design Assistance Program, so the EDA Assistance Program. So that with our engineers, and then they have some energy modeling engineers, they come up with a series of choices the district can make, and they help estimate kind of first cost versus return on investment over the life of a system, and help the district make a lot of great choices, kind of low-hanging fruit and some things we were curious about. So in addition to the geothermal system, we will have a kind of a backup boiler for very extreme weather events and for redundancy, which is important in sustainability to make sure that you can continue to operate if something went wrong. We will have an exceeding code compliance building envelope. Been spending a lot of time thinking about daylight while not introducing too much heat loss. LED lighting will be present throughout the entire building, so upgrading the lighting inside the entire building. Alex, can you think of anything else major? It's kind of the major mechanical, major electrical, major architectural, sustainable design features. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for being here, Sal. Just a comment and a question. Just really marveling over the verticality and number of windows. I mean, it's just a transformation from what we currently have, and really excited to see the environments once this is finished in that new space. Concerning Division Street, I know there's been discussions with the city and the state on some levels, since they, I think, still have authority over that road, and maybe Dr. Hillman's better, because I know there's been conversations with the city. Do we know what kind of the timeline is or the expectation about a potential roundabout at that entrance on the east side of the land and how that might impact construction?
At this point, I don't think we have anything official. So we've been having to kind of plan as if the roundabout's there on day one, and if it isn't. So that was actually one of the comments we got back from the city a couple weeks ago is, what would your site plan look like if the roundabout was not there in 2029? As I know they're still working on that turn back process. I don't know if you know any more, but.
Yeah, my understanding is that the turn back has been approved by the legislature, but that there's now the work that happens with MnDOT to negotiate what kind of compensation the city will get for that. So it's really essentially kind of like a rulemaking process. But in our conversations with the city, they are very serious about, the roundabout, not only here in front of the high school, but also
Front of the middle
potentially a
school.
roundabout in front of the middle school. The question is gonna be what the time frame on how those conversations go with MinDOT. And so there's a number of factors that are outside of our control right now based upon some of those state processes.
Yep.
But we are doing contingency planning that if it is there, if it's there when we open it, if it's not there when we open it, and then also plan if we could add it afterwards. So we really appreciate on that front the work with the city to what would really improve that entire corridor. For people who are traveling through. We know there's a couple of times a day where traffic really gets pretty dicey. Most of the time it's fine, but this would really dramatically improve the user experience as they go through that corridor in a vehicle, especially during school start and end times.
Yeah, and obviously we won't have the benefit of knowing where they land on that before we go out to bid, so we kind of have to have it planned either way. And that might just be a good segue to kind of kick off Josh's section. So, as I mentioned, we've been in construction documents, trying to click forward here, for the past 4 months, almost 5. And we're getting ready to issue documents. So we are planning to issue documents to Knutson to package for contractors on February 19th. It'll take them a couple days to do that, but planning for them to be publicly available to contractors the following week on like the 23rd or 24th, something like that. And planning for a late March, probably that last week of March, bid opening, to ideally come to a school board meeting for award of those bids in April. So that's kind of what the next, 6-8 weeks looks like for the project. And then I think I'll let Josh kind of talk through what construction looks like and feels like as soon as this June, I think, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, go
Welcome,
ahead.
Josh. Thanks.
All right, thank you for having me here. So Sal gets to show you all the pretty pictures, and then I'm gonna show you how this is gonna actually come to fruition here. We've been working with the team, working with the school on how this goes and phasing and what areas come online and what areas of the building we're in for the last, like Sal says, 6-8 months. And we kind of relayed to a few of the folks last week was, our job is to make sure that this is done safely, that, students, staff, guests are all in and out of the building safely, and, the disruption is as minimal as we can make it. There will be some, pain points or pain points throughout the construction. It's in order for us to do what we need to do to make it look beautiful at the end of the day with all those renderings, we got to go through some heartache here. But with that, I also told the group that we will 100% make sure we're keeping everybody in the loop. We're moving things one way or the other because of 30 below windshield, and we have to slide something, or we're moving up on our schedule, we're making good time. We'll communicate with the staff there and the students getting in and out of that building. So.
Oh, that might be good to mention. We did do an update, this same presentation to all staff last week, and obviously there was lots of questions and thoughts on phasing.
Right. So I'm going to walk through. There's really 4 phases that we'll hit on here, and there's reasonings why we flow through the site this way, and you'll kind of see what that looks like here once we get going here. So this snapshot is really what we'll be into this summer. As soon as school is let out, fencing will be up, and we'll start really moving utilities that are existing in the way out of the way. Sal mentioned the underground storm retention that is below the south parking lot. That needs to get in right away, as well as some water and storm that's an electrical duct bank that are routing around the site that need to move out so that we can start foundations on the addition. So that will be the focus this summer, as well as this geothermal engine room down in the southeast to get ready for the equipment that goes in that room. There'll be entrances in and out for our trailers. We'll get into that here on the next slide, but this is the bulk of summer of 2026. So this next phase 2 is what the project will look like basically day 1. All that south parking will be completed. The loop road will be maintained or completed and routed around the site so that we can do bus drop off here down on the south side of the buildings. You'll notice up top here, this is the existing entrance. We plan to put a covered walkway kind of all along the existing building between our site and the existing building to allow students in and out to get that main access from the parking lots to the east. You'll see that the existing basketball court and 2 tennis courts will be removed over the summer to put in some temporary parking, help with the parking that we're taking out on both the southwest and existing front of the school. We'll always have access to the tennis courts during the entire time, but there is a water line that we're actually tying into up right near the tennis courts that comes south, and that will essentially make those tennis courts and those courts obsolete, so to get that loop in. There's another covered walkway we'll have down into the south side of the building, into the southwest entrance. Again, protected covering while we put in the gym, expanded gym and the music additions there to the southwest. Also on here, so this snapshot takes us all the way through basically the end of 27. Now, as we move into the summer of 27, actually some of March, we will work on demolition and renovating the locker rooms down in around the game gym. We'll start that a little early because there's extensive underground and remodel work that needs to happen to get us so that it's ready for summer or start of school in the fall of 27. So all of the kind of light green, fluorescent green will happen over the summer of 27. Moving into phase 3. So what this looks like right now is, well, let me back up one. So the music addition, as part of moving into the new classroom addition, we have to have the storm shelter completed, which is the music addition. So that music addition will be ready in early fall, like about September of 27. So that gets done, and then end of the year into early 2028 is when the addition and move can happen. So after we have moved into the addition in early 28, I think targeting January or around that time, early end of January. The activities or the expanded gym addition will wrap up in March. So all additions will be done by springtime of 2028. This allows us to go in and start removing and demolishing the existing building to make way for the rest of the parking and site utility work that we need to get done. The blue area gets done in starting in June of 28, the summer of 28. Now the kitchen area, again, because it is very heavy renovated work and underground plumbing, piping that needs to get done, will trickle into the early part of the school year. So we're not targeting that to get done until close to the end of October. So everything else in and around that will be done by the start of school though. And that thing takes us into really the final summer. So really after everything is completed in this last phase, we have very little to do throughout the school year until it lets out again in 29, and we'll finish up in the V wing and the auditorium renovations.
And some site work that year too.
Be a little bit of site work that wraps up that summer, correct, yep.
Okay, thank you, Josh.
Texas too. Any questions on the phasing side of things? No, that's pretty high level.
And you already mentioned bidding will come up here in a couple months.
Yep. So, as Sal said, we'll get the drawings out. We'll plan on breaking up all the scopes, into packages, trade packages, so concrete and precast and steel, all that scope. We have identified, 4 scopes, earthwork and utilities, glass and glazing, and then mechanical electrical to run as a best value procurement. So same process as giving us numbers on bid day on, the end of March. But we also ask those contractors to provide us with, their project team, their plan on how they're going to execute, as well as some, what we call value enhancements. So we're trying to get more bang for your buck as part of that, so we can mitigate all the risk up front, or as much risk as we can, to prevent any cost changes that might come down the road after the fact. So again, that'll be end of March. We'll review those proposals, and then we'll come to you for approval of contract execution.
All right, we'll open up to questions. We'll start with Ben. Ben, do you have any questions?
Yeah, thanks. That was good. I mean, I know there's never a crystal ball for kind of looking at phasing, but just based on similar-ish projects, timelines, are they kind of plus or minus 6 months sometimes, or what's just been kind of Wold's collective experience in that space?
I think unfortunately we only get the 10 weeks you give us in the summer, so it's really more reverse engineering for summer work, like what you can get done in a summer. So that's why we're ending up having 4 summers really essentially worth of work, three robust ones and one just a little bit this year. I mean, the main classroom and office additions, starts this June, and it will open for January of 2028. So that's approximately an 18-month addition. And the expanded gym is all of that, if not 2 more months than that. So, I mean, with the scale of your 2 larger additions, those are pretty long phases, yeah.
Okay, so you feel like there's kind of maybe a little bit of buffer built into that just to account for kind of the known unknowns.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we feel pretty confident.
Yep,
Yeah.
exactly.
And then, Sal, I just had another question kind of going back to your presentation, and I apologize if you touched on it and I missed it, but when looking at kind of the classroom design and placement, does that kind of design software do any sort of class time monitoring, how long it takes student to go from point A to point B, under a few different scenarios? Or is that
There
not
was
really something
no
that...
technical modeling of that, but we did spend some time talking about it. I think it'll be much improved from what you experienced today. Actually, going up is usually more efficient than going all the way across. You have a lot of bottlenecks. So what we're going to have is kind of the same width of circulation, but stacked on top of each other. So you can have a third of people here, a third of people here, a third of people here, which right now you're trying to send all of those people through, kind of the same 2 or 3 major intersections. So nothing technical, but we did spend some time talking about that.
Okay, no, I appreciate that. I know we're just talking about school start times and things like that too,
Yeah,
and kind
yep.
of length of the day. All of those pieces play together, so I appreciate that. Thank you.
One thing I think, it's not really part of the question right now, but just as I'm looking at this, I mentioned that we have drawings into the city right now. So there's a few different, there's a series of approvals we have to get for a public school process. So you don't think of yourself as developers, but you are. You're a developer in the community of Northfield, so we have to get through their planning review process. And that's for compliance with city ordinances and zoning and things of that nature. Then the state has authority and jurisdiction over code compliance. So we'll be applying to the state of Minnesota for that, kind of as soon as our documents are done. Kind of a special version of that is we do have to do a special plan review for plumbing. So there will be a building plan review, plumbing, And then we also have to submit to the health department. So anytime you're doing a space that's like, you know, preparing food for human consumption, the health department gets involved and does a review to make sure we're meeting all health department codes. So all of those reviews will be kind of happening throughout this spring. So in addition to the city, we have a few others we have to get through.
All right, questions from the board? Maggie?
Thank you. Thank you both. Could we look at the phase one slide again? I'm curious about specifically access to Memorial Field during the fall of that year when we have, you know, soccer and football games happening at that time.
Well, maybe we should move to phase two. It
Okay.
will look like this day one for fall. So
Right.
access to Memorial Field you'll have on that whole south side.
Okay.
Yep,
Yeah, it'll be very torn up during the summer, but
Yeah.
come fall,
Summer, and
it'll
then
be
it's
built.
right
Yeah.
in, okay.
correct.
I see. Thank you. I did have one other question. From what I can tell, there will be demolition happening during the school year. Can you talk about how kind of that will affect the students who are learning in that new edition in terms of noise or?
Yep. So, actually, really only the two heavy demolition will be on the lower levels and the locker room spaces right away. So I want to say it's completely away from student learning activities, but we also write some of our work packages where saw cutting and jackhammering we do early in the morning or later in the evenings to try and, you know, get away from the disruption, and then, you know, they haul out and work on a little bit lighter noise activities during the day.
Thank you.
What about the mass building demo?
Oh, yeah, were you
That
referring to?
also,
Okay.
That's what I thought you meant. but
Okay,
yeah.
I'm sorry. I thought we were getting it in the side. No worries. So a lot of that, again, you're kind of moving all the students into, away from that heavy construction area. You'll hear backup alarms and rubble coming down, but we'll put partitions also, noise partitions in between where those connection points are. So it'll lessen it as much as we can.
Thank you.
Jeffrey? Jeff?
Thanks for your report. Of the wings that we'll be tearing down, talk about a little bit of that process, and then, you know, if it's a year and a half or whatever it ends up being, plus, you know, student flow, kind of a little bit more expanded on how we're using those wings, and then you're tearing them, first of all, when you tearing them down, and how does that work?
Yep, so all the demolition of wings that are coming, building demolition that's coming down is after everybody moves over. So they're in the new addition, they're in different spaces. Nobody will be out of in that area. And we're planning on about a 6 to 8 week removal. So.
Yeah, they'll move in January of 2028 to the new addition. And then abatement is usually the first activity that takes a few weeks, right? You have to go through and abate any hazardous materials. But buildings come down a lot faster than they get built, so.
Yeah.
Wish it was that fast for new, but
Yeah.
that's just not how it works.
Any other questions? Jeff?
No, that's fine.
Amy?
Thanks, Josh. I just have a question about process and how it works. So does Knutson gather all the materials together and then the contractors install it and set it up, or are all the contractors bringing in the materials for their parts of the project? And along that line, I'm just wondering what's happening with costs these days, whether they're staying the same, whether they're, just whatever you can talk about along those lines.
Sure. So we are construction manager agencies, so we are managing the contractors that you have the contracts with. But we do set up detailed procurement logs and tracking logs to make sure when we expect to have material on site, that's on their radar, so that they're bringing materials on site at the right timing. I would say, I don't know that we have seen a lot of spikes recently as far as material escalations or anything like that. We identify long lead materials and equipment very early on, and we talked about I think it was a boiler or something a few weeks ago on getting that approval through right away because it had an 8-week lead time that had to be in time before school was back on that time. So we manage all of that with contractors that are on site working.
The analogy I've often used, Amy, is that like a construction manager is kind of like a conductor of the orchestra. Like they're making sure everybody's staying in sync and things are happening when they're supposed to, but they're still responsible.
For bringing in the materials.
Yep, so
'Cause I would-
the district will have, I don't know, what do you think, like 30 some
I would say 30.
separate contracts with a concrete contractor and a steel contractor and what have you, and then Knutson manages all of them.
But for like the skin of the building, and if you've chosen something as an architect
Yep.
and designing it, and for some reason the contractor says, I can't get what you've asked for,
They would either ask us for, hey, we can't get that in time, what other ideas do you have? Or they might even say, this one is very similar, can we use this instead? And there's a process called RFI, so request for information. So if they ever have a challenge meeting the intent of the bid documents, they kind of have to ask our permission for any changes. So I would expect we'll have lots of those. Products get discontinued all the time, and especially in long projects like this, right? A product that's in existence in 2025 might not be in 2028, and that's normal. And they might have good ideas for how to save money, right? Things that may be a little different than how we drew it, and we entertain those, and if the district can get some value back. So we rely on their expertise heavily.
is it mostly time and materials that they're bidding then, or if they find cost savings, do they keep the savings?
If the district is getting less value, and by that I mean they're getting less product or less labor is required, the value comes back to the district, right? So they can't like cut corners and use cheaper products without permission and things like that. But I would say it's most scopes. It would be close to 50-50 or 60-40 labor and materials.
Yeah.
It kind of depends on the trade,
Yeah,
but
depends, but yeah, it's about right.
yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Amy. Dr. Hillman, you had a couple comments?
Yes, so I just want to walk through for the board and for the public here. We talked about the locker rooms, and then I just want to really emphasize that those locker rooms are going to be unavailable, right, for the end of that year. I want you to talk through and emphasize the cafeteria and kitchen issue that will happen at the beginning of a school year. So just I want that out front now so that people can hear about it. So you just want to walk through how that kitchen and the cafeteria are going to be impacted that one fall when we come back.
Yeah, you want to do that?
Yeah, so first of all, we chose that timing rather than starting early because there was a request to try and get the work started earlier, to get done by fall. Because of the extensive noise that we'll have and disruption, people in and out, we chose to.
It's really in the center of the building, right? It's hard to have that really impactful construction with people all around you.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. So as you get through construction, we'd much rather be putting in flooring, turning on equipment, putting in lights, rather than making a lot of noise. So those activities will be happening in September and October while we're finishing up. And I think you've had the experience on what that kind of looks like.
Yeah, we've worked with Stephanie Strami and her team on like what the start of the school year will look like. There's a couple good options. There's the existing concession stand will remain available during that whole time, so that's an option. Lots of the existing commons and cafeteria will be available for dining, but there's a couple other places we've talked about opening up if you need additional student seating space. So I think it's fair to say it will feel disruptive, right, and it will feel different. But we kind of had to choose. Would we rather have that really loud activity in April, May, or quiet activities in September, October? So after a lot of discussion, that was the recommendation.
And just to be clear, that's the fall of 2028.
Fall of 2028, yep. So locker rooms start spring of 27, finish for the 27 school year. Kitchens the following year, starts in June, ends in October-ish, right? Turnover in November.
Yep.
Yeah, you really can't, both of those are so plumbing intensive and tile intensive, not really possible to get done in the 9.5, 10 weeks we have in a summer, so.
And so that I just wanted to emphasize that
Yep.
we're going to start rolling out communication to the community that this is going to be some disruption to our obviously regular daily approach to school. And so all of those beautiful images that you saw in the first part of the presentation, we have to keep reminding people of that. We're going to be using the quote that I love from that great philosopher Dolly Parton, right? That you have to put up with the rain to get the rainbow. And so there's going to be inconvenience. I think the general public, the biggest inconvenience that you're going to have is going to be parking and traffic, right? Because at the end of the project, we'll have the same amount of parking that we had at the beginning of the project, but it's going to go through a number of different iterations over time. And so what I want the public to expect is the worst, right? It's gonna be a bottleneck. I want people to get that in their brain right now so that when it's slightly better than that, people will feel that, oh, all right, this isn't so bad. But we will be transparent and acknowledge that during this process, it's a complicated project with an amazing result at the end. And so almost all of what we're talking about is exactly the kind of flow that we talked about during the referendum campaign. And we just want people to set and manage those expectations. When it is done, it is going to be an excellent facility that is really reimagining our high school experience. But it's going to take some time to get there. We've been talking a lot about fencing, right? So the construction fencing, we are going to have the images, some of the images that you've seen, they are going to be draped on the fencing, so the fencing will be signed. We will have a website, there'll be a QR code on those that signage that will bring you to the construction update site. We've had history of working with Knutson before. There'll be a webcam so that people will be able to observe the construction. We'll have the time lapse that will happen at the end. There'll be weekly construction updates. There will be several community meetings for people to be able to stop and, get some additional updates. So people know our history of cascading communication and ensuring that the public has as much up-to-date information as they can. But I do want people to start to get into the mindset that this is going to be a disruption and an inconvenience for some time. Now, at the end of the day, it's going to be great, right? There's going to be lots of good things at the end of the day, but we're going to have to just tolerate some of these things. Knutson is exceptional, right? And we know that they have dealt with a lot of complex projects, but Josh has told us this is one of the most complex projects that he's worked on, and he's worked on many things at the Mayo Clinic. So we're proud of what the voters approved. It's going to be an exceptional facility for our high school students, but we want people to start managing expectations now.
All right, well, thanks for all those reminders. We look forward to seeing the beautiful building be finished in 3 years. Any other last questions for Josh and Sal? All right, thanks for being here.
Thanks for
Thank you.
having us.
All right, we're going to move on to item B. It's time to put up your feet and settle in because I have some reading to do. We're going to be going over the summary of Superintendent Matt Hillman's mid-year evaluation. As chair of tonight's meeting, I will share the summary written by Board Chair Claudia Gonzalez-George, as well as myself, for Dr. Hillman's mid-year performance evaluation. A copy of the summary is enclosed in your packet. Just a reminder, board members, it is a new format this mid-year, and we do not have a point system, and also for the community to understand that. So here we go. The superintendent is the sole employee of the Northfield Public Schools Board of Education. The district's day-to-day operations are delegated to Dr. Hillman, and board members are tasked to evaluate him on a semi-annual basis. The mid-year evaluation consists of a check-in model giving written feedback on the superintendent's 5 focus areas for the 2025-26 academic year. A new form was used to allow Dr. Hillman to submit a self-evaluation of his progress, and for each board member to comment back directly on each focus area. Board members were also allowed to respond to any stated challenges for each focus area, offer resources to the superintendent, and give other comments under each focus area. No numeric ratings were used for the mid-year evaluation. For this review period, every board member submitted an evaluation, which we appreciate. Board Chair Claudia Gonzalez-George, with support from Kelly Spillman-Kramer, Executive Assistant to the Superintendent and School Board, compiled board member comments. The Chair and Vice Chair, that's me, Corey Butler, co-authored the summary. All written comments were shared with Dr. Hillman, but not attributed to specific board members, and identifying details were removed. The board chair met with Dr. Hillman on January 26th, last week, to review the mid-year evaluation. As a reminder to the board members, focus area number 1. Dr. Hillman's first focus area tasked him with developing a school-to-work program for general education high school students, supporting the board's commitment to career and technical education. Board members praised the mid-year progress and offered thoughtful implementation questions and concerns for Dr. Hillman to consider as he develops this new opportunity set to launch next academic year. Focus area number 2 is about supporting system changes resulting from the district's budget reductions during the 2024-25 fiscal year. Board members somberly appreciated hearing how the reductions are currently impacting staff in all buildings and in district administration, and what systems could be considered for updating to support staff doing more with less. Board members Board members also asked Dr. Hillman how the board could address the workload created by the reductions. Focus Area 3 concerns an artificial intelligence academy for staff. Board members recognize the value of educating district staff so they, in turn, can propel students' AI learning. One board member envisions Northfield as leading other districts in their own AI development academies. Other board members are anticipating the future development of students and their knowledge of AI resources. The academy will kick off in early March of 2026. Focus Area 4 concerns researching why families open enroll into Northfield and why other families choose to leave our district. Board members praise the value of this research and the collaboration with St. Olaf College to complete the research. Board members expressed high interest in the results, encouraging Dr. Hillman to include the results of families choosing homeschool, private, or charter schools or enrolling in another public school district. Focus Area 5 is about seeking feedback for improving BIPOC student experiences. Board members express their appreciation for this focus area and look forward to the end of the year feedback report. One board member also encouraged the groups to be co-facilitated by community members to raise participation. Based on the comments of the board as a whole, Dr. Hillman is on track with his 5 focus area goals. He is thorough, collaborative, future thinking, inclusive, and has excellent communication. The school board looks forward to the findings of these focus goals. We are grateful for Dr. Hillman's thoughtful work, and we appreciate your ongoing commitment to our community. Thank you for all the hard work in the first half of the calendar year.
My pleasure.
Board members, I will open up to any questions you may have or comments. Amy.
Well, first of all, Dr. Hillman, thank you for all that you're doing to move our district forward, and I hope we showed our appreciation for that through this process. But I also wanted to talk about the process. I actually really like having this mid-year focus on the focus areas. I think that's a good way of being able to provide input to the superintendent. So I'm wondering, Dr. Hillman, what you think of this approach. Did you feel like you got what you needed from it? Would you want to do this again next year?
Thanks, Amy. I really appreciate the depth of the feedback. I think over the years, board members have been very generous in the time that they've given to the mid-year evaluation. That was providing feedback on all of the job duties that I have, the 40 or 50 plus, whatever it is listed in the evaluation. I felt that the shrinking of the focus of the feedback and comments were beneficial. It was directly about the focus areas that we had set. And of course, some other pieces worked into that as well. Recognition of some of the other, obviously all of the other things that we do to manage the school district on a day-to-day basis. I really felt that I had more in-depth and actionable feedback during this round. So it's the first time we've done it. We're going to keep working on how we can take action on the board members' feedback and comments in the coming weeks. But my initial reaction was very positive for the mid-year. And as someone who is a little competitive and has always had a number as my evaluation, it does take a little bit to adjust to that, even though we know, and I teach other people from research, that what you're doing in this particular case is what best practice would say, more frequent, specific, and targeted feedback.
Other board members? Oh, thank you. Ben, do you have any comments?
Yeah, I would just echo, I think, what Amy said, and I appreciated the process this time. I felt like I was able to give a little bit more refined and targeted feedback versus the old model. So I just wanted to thank the group that worked on revising that. I think we got a good outcome out of it. So thank you.
Yeah, I would just echo what Ben just said. Thanks to those who were willing to get traction going on this and make some adjustments. Sometimes it's good to throw things against the wall and try something new, and we'll refine it as we move forward and find different ways to do this. I also would like to acknowledge that while we have 5 goals here, Dr. Hillman clearly does a lot more, including discussion earlier this year about school start times as being potential on here. And while that did not make this list and that's not being evaluated in this piece, we're obviously having that conversation. We have a work session Thursday, our second. So we have that, compañeros discussions, middle school discussions. There's a lot of big projects in addition to other duties as assigned. So appreciate all the effort you put into that. And but for the record, here you go.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity.
All right, thank you. Moving on to item C, Policy Committee recommendations. Superintendent Hillman will present the Policy Committee's recommended changes, to policies 443, 505, 507, and 520.1. These will be before us for adoption at the February 9th, 2026 board meeting.
Yes, so you have four policies here that are on essentially the regularly scheduled review. So I want to thank our policy committee for their continued diligence in updating policies and ensuring that we take a look at them on a regular basis. You'll see the summary report that is included in the packet. So policies that are being reviewed this time are 443 homebound instruction. And you'll see that we added some additional statements just to really provide clarity around how we select teachers to provide that homebound instruction when students are eligible for it and we're providing that service. We always look at the purpose statement and see is there a way to update it to align with our vision or strategic commitments. Many times that's possible, sometimes just because of the nature of the policy, it's not as easy to do that, so we just leave it in more plain language. So you'll see we did update the purpose statement there. And there's some revised language just for clarity. We're always looking at is the policy as clear as we possibly can. And there's some associated procedures with 443 as well, that's revised language for clarity. In 505, which is the distribution of non-school sponsored materials on school premises by students and employees, we just did some work there to update the definitions, really to bring the policy into the modern era, if you will. This policy was really focused on people distributing paper-based materials. And so this is intended to expand that obviously people seek to distribute materials in a variety of ways other than just copies. And so it seeks to recognize that and ensure that the policy governs that as well. And it also just updates some language around the student citizenship handbook versus the student discipline policy. And then also really just changes the policy names and the cross references to make sure that it's updated and current. In 507 corporal punishment, there had been a reference to charter schools. We added links to some Minnesota statutory references. We linked policies like policy 506 and the student citizenship handbook. We also adjusted some of the names of the cross references, again, to match those model MSBA policies. And then all of these policies as well, we're trying to make sure that the formatting is consistent. You've adopted a style guide, and as we go through these, we're trying to make sure that all of the policies updated in that similar format. We think that's really important. So when the public is looking at the policies, there's a predictable way that they flow and that people can anticipate how they can use those policies when necessary. The final one that is up for your review this evening is research requests. We added some language to really specifically talk about having institutional review board approval. That was really inherent in a lot of the things that we did, but just makes it explicit that when we're conducting research, that the institution's IRB board has been involved. We added the word "and" to the purpose statement and into section 3, and then also just did some linking to the request to conduct research form. There's a form that we have people out. So again, as we update these policies, we're also trying to link to any of those forms that might be needed so that people don't have to hunt around to find something they can get direct access. So these are the 4 policies that we have up for you this evening. Remember, we're reviewing these tonight, asking for any feedback that you have. And then, we will ask you to vote on them at the next meeting. Typically at the second of the 2 meeting process, there's less questions. And so we just want the public to know that this is the time when we're bringing it forward. There can be questions at this meeting, in between this and the next meeting, and of course, at the final meeting when we ask for your approval. So those are the 4 policies. Be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Dr. Hillman. And if I may step back for a moment, I had one more comment on the mid-year eval. I'm going to conjure up Claudia Gonzalez-George a bit because I'd be remiss if I didn't say this. We appreciate you.
Oh, thank you.
Or shorthand, appreciate you, as she might say. So,
No problem.
all right, board members, we'll move back to the policies in front of us. Ben, we'll start with you if you have any questions or comments.
I don't. Thank you, Corey.
Thanks, Ben. Any other board members? Amy?
The rest of us are all on the policy committee, so we've already had our comments
Hey,
put
things
into this.
happen between the conversations and review. I'm glad you're consistent with your voice. All right, I have no questions either, so we'll move ahead. Thank you, everyone. We're going to move to the consent agenda. We now have the approval of the consent grouping. As a reminder, there were some personnel items in the table file added to the consent grouping, as well as an update to, I believe it was 7B or 7A in the board packet for voting tonight. Is there anything anyone would like to pull from the consent grouping for separate consideration? Ben?
No, thank you.
Okay. Other board members? See no one. Is there a motion to approve the consent grouping?
Motion.
Maggie? Okay. Motion by Maggie, seconded by Amy. Kelly, could you call roll call, please?
Epstein,
Aye.
Gerwitz,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Quinnell,
Aye.
Butler.
Aye. Motion carries 5-0. All right, and now we'll move to items for individual action. The board, 7A, the board is requested to approve the stadium naming rights contract with Heritage Bank. Following the process established in policy 809.1, the district requested proposals for stadium naming rights to Memorial Field with a December 1, 2025 deadline and a minimum annual bid of $12,000. Heritage Bank submitted the highest bid at $18,000 annually for 10 years. Upon approval, the facility will be named Heritage Bank Stadium at Memorial Field. Is there a motion to approve this item? Jeff, can I get a second?
Second.
Meg, I know it's real slim pickings tonight.
And I just want to point out, we had that updated version of the contract in the table file.
Thank you. So we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Ben?
Nope, I'm good. Thank you.
Other board members? No? All right. Kelly?
Aye.
Gerwitz,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Quinnell,
Aye.
Butler.
Aye. Thank you. Passes 5-0. And then finally, we'll have 7B, approval for bid for district MacBook Air laptop purchase. Attached is the final bid recommendation for the purchase of the district's decommissioned fleet of MacBook Air laptops. All bids for the sale of approximately 411 MacBook Airs, were received at 201 Orchard Street South, Northfield, Minnesota. That's the building we're in right now. On or before Tuesday, January 20th, 2026 by 3 p.m. Director of Technology Services, Nate Knutson, Director of Finance, Val Murdersdorf, opened the bids Tuesday, January 20th, 2026 at 3 p.m. Couldn't wait, I suppose. We do have Val here to talk about it. It is a recommendation that the district enter into an agreement with Tech Reboot, Inc. at a guaranteed minimum price of $142,000. Is there a motion to approve this? Amy, second?
Second.
Maggie, thank you. Discussion from anyone? Okay, Val, do you have anything you'd like to add?
I was just gonna say we had a good selection of bids to come in. We are always unsure when we send it out how many we're gonna get. We did actually get 3 more than what is shown, but they came in after 3 p.m., so they were void and null. But we had originally budgeted about 100,000, so we will take an extra 42. Tech Reboot met all of the criteria, so they come in, package them all, take them all. We don't have to do anything other than what our technology services team has already done. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them, but otherwise this was a pretty straightforward bid process.
Thanks, Val. Ben, I forgot you again. I'm batting like 750 tonight, which isn't too bad, but do you have any comments or questions?
That's pretty good. No, I'm good. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Ben. Amy?
How's the tech team prepare them for sale?
With a lot of manual labor. So they collect all the devices when they're swapping out. So giving the staff member their new one and then collecting their old one. And then they go through and clean them, wipe them back to their kind of factory settings so that there's no data that we obviously wouldn't want. So they're all cleared and stripped and cleaned. And then they take inventory to make sure they know exactly how many they are. They also go through and rate. So if there's ones that are really broken, obviously we're not going to include those, but they go through and do kind of a rough assessment of the, how many are in great condition, good condition, that kind of, just so we have a sense for the proposal request. But it's a lot, not as much with the MacBooks because there was 411. But they do the same process with the iPads, and there's quite a few more of those. So it's a labor of love.
Jeff or Maggie? Last call. All right, we have a motion and a second. Kelly?
Epstein,
Aye.
Gerowitz,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Quinnell,
Aye.
Butler.
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you. All right, moving into items for information. Paraprofessional Recognition Week was last week, January 19th to the 23rd. And we appreciate the work done by all our fine folks here. The district proudly acknowledges the dedication and hard work of our educational assistants. Educational assistants play a vital role in supporting instruction, assisting with virtual learning, providing personal care services, and so much more. We are grateful for their commitment and thank them for their impact they have on our students. Future meetings include this Thursday, January 29th at 6 p.m. We have a board work session.
5 o'clock.
I'm sorry, 5 p.m. Thanks for the correction. We'll be discussing later school start times. It'll be our second meeting in that discussion. Then we return to a regular board meeting Monday, February 9th at 6 p.m. in the district board room where we're at now. Monday, February 23rd, 2026 at 6 p.m. regular board meeting. And then looking into March already, Monday, March 9th, 6 p.m. regular board meeting in this room. That is all the business we have for today. Is there a motion to adjourn? Jeff, do we have a second? Amy, thought maybe you'd give Ben an opportunity, but no, that's okay. I'm just taking it. I'm just kidding. We have a motion and a second. And then we'll do a roll call.
Epstein,
Aye.
Gerowitz,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Quinnell,
Aye.
Butler.
Aye. Motion carries. We are adjourned. Oh, thanks.
Thanks, everybody.